I wouldn't call myself an expert hiker, despite the fact that I've been enjoying this pastime for several decades. I've covered nearly every significant trail across the US and have visited more than 75% of this stunning nation's national parks. Lately, I've been searching for new ways to keep things interesting. Recently, I started a new hobby, scouring Google Maps for vast, unnamed forests and simply exploring them. It's quite an uncommon interest, but in my opinion, the added thrill is worth the potential risk of getting lost. To help navigate my way back, I carry a collection of handcrafted stickers that I use to mark routes. Occasionally, I even push over small trees to leave a trace, though I always remove my markers afterward to ensure I don't leave any litter behind. Not many people have caught on to this method yet, but it's been a useful way for me to find my way through dense forests. This time, however, I had a more challenging task ahead. I decided to explore Dudley Town Forest in Connecticut. In case you're unfamiliar, the entire town has been abandoned since the 19th century, and there are countless unsettling stories about strange occurrences in the area. If you're into that kind of thing, it's worth investigating. Now, I'm not superstitious, but I don't entirely dismiss ghost stories either. This forest is officially off-limits to the public, but that didn't deter me. Before arriving, I was fairly certain I wouldn't encounter anyone, as I often visit secluded places like this. Being from New England, the drive wasn't too bad. I arrived at the forest around midday to ensure I had plenty of daylight. My first impression upon entering was eerie. I had heard that the place was completely silent, but experiencing it firsthand was shocking. It wasn't just quiet, it was an absolute void of sound. No rustling leaves, no chirping birds, no distant hum of insects. For a moment, I closed my eyes and focused on my own breathing. The sensation was overwhelming, unlike anything I'd experienced before. I had spent plenty of time in remote forests, but this was different. Trying to shake off the uneasiness, I continued hiking, placing my stickers along the way. I kept expecting to encounter some form of wildlife, but there was nothing. Not even a trace of movement. After some time, I found myself craving human interaction. Just something to break the oppressive silence. Oddly enough, I started feeling more at ease, as if I had adjusted to the stillness. But that feeling didn't last long. A sudden noise shattered the quiet. A low, wailing sound, almost like an injured animal crying out in pain. It sent a chill down my spine. The sound was unlike anything I had ever heard before, and I struggled to describe it even now. It wasn't a natural noise. It didn't belong there. I stopped and listened, trying to determine its source. At first, I rationalized that it could have been the wind, but there was no breeze. That didn't make sense. Eventually, I convinced myself that it had to be an injured animal. If you're wondering why I didn't just turn back and leave immediately, trust me, I asked myself the same thing. I should have left right then and there. As I continued walking, I noticed something even more unsettling: carvings on a tree. At first, I thought it was just vandalism, but as I looked closer, the symbols didn't resemble letters. They were random, jagged strokes, with patches of tree bark seemingly stripped away. I scanned my surroundings and realized that several nearby trees had the same markings. My gut instinct told me to turn around, and I didn't hesitate. I quickly retraced my steps, peeling off my stickers as I went. But then, I noticed something that made my blood run cold. In the distance, there was something I hadn't seen before. A dark opening, like a cave or an animal's den. That was impossible. I had just come from that direction, and there was no way I could have missed something that large. That's when it hit me. My stickers, the ones I had placed at waist height, were now positioned at shoulder height. Someone had moved them. Someone had been following me. And worse, they were trying to lure me toward that cave. Panic surged through me. I spun around and ran as fast as I could, glancing over my shoulder every few steps. How had I not noticed someone following me this entire time? As I sprinted through the trees, my mind raced with possibilities. Had they been hiding, watching me? Had they been waiting for the right moment? I didn't have time to figure it out. I just needed to get out of that forest. My heart pounded as I ran blindly, barely aware of my surroundings. I had no idea where I was going, but I recognized some of the markings on the trees. Then I heard it again. The wailing. But this time it was louder, closer. It was directly behind me. I ran faster than I ever have in my life, but no matter how hard I pushed myself, the sound stayed right behind me. Every time I looked back, I saw nothing. Those were the longest, most terrifying minutes of my life. Finally, I saw the edge of the forest. The moment I broke through the tree line, the wailing stopped. Just like that. I didn't stop running until I reached my car. I jumped in, started the engine, and tore out of there without looking back. To this day, I don't know what was following me. But I have a theory. I think someone, a loner, a hermit, or maybe just a deranged person, had been living in those woods. They saw me before I ever saw them. For whatever reason, they decided to follow me. They moved my trail markers, trying to mislead me toward that cave. I don't know how they made that awful sound. Maybe they had some kind of whistle or device. But the moment they realized they wouldn't be able to catch me, they stopped. That's the part that still doesn't sit right with me. Why did they stop? And how long had they been watching?